James Gunn's Superman movie is flying straight into theaters this summer. And so a lot of the actors, most of the actors in the movie are doing a lot of press junkets and appearances at conventions and whatnot to gin up hype for the movie. And in one, the actor portraying Clark Kent himself had a very interesting comment about who else he would like to play and how it could happen. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side. Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Berry. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and if you're watching on YouTube, ring the little bells to get notifications when I post a new vidcast and consider becoming a channel member. Okay, so I'm a couple of days late on this story, but I did think it was interesting when I stumbled upon it, and I'm going to use it to segue into some broader thoughts on the upcoming Superman reboot. So, David Corenswet, who is portraying Superman in Superman, or at least the 2025 Superman, was asked about other roles he would like to play, and he said, my favorite superhero, that being Batman. But he actually came up with an interesting way to make it happen, and I thought that was pretty cool. This is according to Bounding into Comics. DC is the home of two dream roles for a lot of actors. David Corenswet is already playing one this summer, Superman, but he would have relished the chance to portray the other if given it, and there could be a way to make that happen. Games Radar reports that at CinemaCon, Cornswet was asked about other characters he wanted to play. He said Batman, which thrilled the crowd. Or, so it says, but he went even further. The actor knows a way to get the best of both worlds that pays homage to animated lore. I mean, I love the animated series when Batman and Superman switch spots. That would be fun to get to do at some point, said Cornswet. He's alluding to one of the few team-up episodes of the new Batman and Superman adventures before there was a Justice League. I believe they're referring to the Justice League continuation of what's called the DC animated universe. In Nighttime, an episode of the new Batman Superman adventures, Superman is tipped off in Metropolis by carpet-bagging Roxy Rocket that Batman was missing and Gotham was right for the picking. The Man of Steel goes to investigate, and alongside Robin, he follows a path that pits him against Penguin, Riddler, Manhattan, Bane, and ultimately his old enemy, Brainiac. He runs this gauntlet while wearing Bruce's cape and cowl to hopefully fool Gotham's criminals into believing Batman didn't skip town. James Gunn has to get the DCU up and running first and then cast a Batman for it, though it's conceivable he would toy with switching out the two heroes for a laugh or a one-shot. And then they go on to talk more about the Superman movie and some of the cast members of it and how that might work. And I'm going to give my own thoughts about that. But once you watch this video, head over to Bounding into Comics if you'd like to see more of the article. So for the uninitiated, Nighttime, as the article referenced, is an episode of the new adventures of Batman and Superman, or more specifically, Superman, the animated series, where, as they said, Superman gets tipped that Batman is missing, goes to Gotham City, disguises himself, and I could actually see James Gunn doing something like this. David Cornswet, I appreciate his knowledge of the lore of Batman, the animated series. Maybe we have an actual fan, and that actually gives me a little bit of hope for this movie. Now, I know test audiences are saying it's mediocre at best, but actually, unlike a lot of YouTubers, and I know I'm in the minority and I'm not throwing shade at anyone who has a different opinion, but I actually like a lot of the Superman stuff that I see that comes out. I'm not saying it's going to be good. It could be a huge letdown, and I'm going in with very low expectations, but I like that optimistic Superman. And a lot of people were complaining about the scene where he lands near the Fortress of Solitude and Crypto comes and dances around. Well, anyone who has a dog knows that's exactly what dogs do. If you're like laying down or like hurt or whatever, dogs will come around, and some of them they just sniff you, but others they bounce around. My dog, if he catches me in a moment of weakness, he's kind of like the guy goes, "Get up, what's your problem? You're the human here." That's kind of his attitude. He does not have any sort of empathy. He's definitely a coach. But anyway, I digress on that. My point is, I'm actually looking forward to Superman. Now, I would like to give an opinion about something that I have noticed. There's a lot of YouTubers and people on X and Instagram, a lot of influencers, especially in the nerd space, who, like me, are tired of woke nonsense, of identity politics, of changing characters in our favorite fandoms. And like I said, I'm included of that. But I can't help but be a little excited for Superman. And yes, I know I often call James Gunn a liar. I call him a perv, but he's never been accused of a crime. And I do think he is better suited to make a Superman movie than Zack Snyder ever was. But I will say that as I get more excited, I came to sort of this realization because it seems like everything that gets released from this movie gets nitpicked to death by a certain vector of the fans. Now, I'm not talking about the Snyderverse fans. They can't accept that their universe is over. Aquaman sequel was the last thing they'll ever get out of that, and they just have to move on. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people who maybe they liked Snyder's films, maybe they didn't, but they want a Superman movie and they want it to be good. Here is the thing. The worst possible thing for Superman is that it is just mediocre. Why is that? Because if the movie is terrible, you can make a whole YouTube channel dedicated to smashing it. You can make appearances on different live streams and talk about how terrible it was. You can condemn the acting. You can talk about the cast being terrible. You can talk about James Gunn is not right for the DC universe. And you can go on and on and on. If it's good, you can say, oh my gosh, it exceeded my expectations. I was blown away by it. This is Superman. I'm so glad he's back. I hope that this universe continues on. You can praise the actors. You can praise the direction. But if it's just mediocre, that's almost a bigger failure than if it was good or bad, because you just realize what a letdown it is. It being mediocre is a no-win situation, because if it's good, you can praise it. If it's bad, you can slam it, and you get good views either way. But if this movie is just mediocre, if it's just middle of the road, it shows kind of that Hollywood doesn't really understand what made the early days of the MCU so great, or the Dark Knight trilogy, if you want to go DC route. They really don't understand what made those movies so popular. And I don't doubt that, because Hollywood is full of these elitist sycophants who just smell each other's farts and they go about their day. They pat each other in the back. The Oscars haven't meant anything since 2012. I say that often. The Dark Knight should have been Best Picture the year that it came out. That's just a fact, but it wasn't. And that was even before 2012. It should have been the Best Picture that year. RRR should have won Best Foreign Film the year it came out. But Jacob, India didn't submit it. Oh, I thought the Oscars was all about the arts. If it's all about the arts, then it should have been nominated regardless of whether India submitted it or not. It's absolutely ridiculous, the painstaking things that Hollywood puts us through. And like I said, I'm not saying we should trust Gunn at all. I'm not a James Gunn stan at all. Like I say often, I think he's a liar. I think he's a pervert, but he is a better filmmaker than Zack Snyder. His track record of filmmaking is better. And I know he gets accused a lot of kind of putting the juvenile humor into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Well, that's true that he did through Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's not his fault that other directors or even Marvel Studios or even Disney picked up on that. He was just doing what he was doing for the characters he was given. And hopefully that won't translate on to Superman. Hopefully Superman will have its own unique flair, and it'll harken us back to better days of the Man of Steel. Now, I don't know that that's going to be the case, but like I said, the worst thing for Superman is that it is mediocre. That will be a bigger disappointment if it is just a garbage film. Now, like I said, for my part, I'm choosing to have a little bit of hopeful optimism for it. I'm going in with low expectations, but I want to like it. I think The Man of Steel deserves to have a decent movie. He hasn't had a good movie in a long time. It's really sad that Henry Cavill's cameo in Black Adam has been the best thing to come out of Superman media in a long, long time. So hopefully Superman, it will at least be good. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be Superman 2 Richard Donner cut. It just has to be good. And I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I do hope that it is good. I would like to thank Lou Aguilar, who has become my first paid subscriber on my new website, studiojakemedia.substack.com. Big shout out to him. And by the way, if you would like a shout out, head on over to my website, studiojakemedia.substack.com, where you can find even more news and reviews and commentary on pop culture, on all things pop culture. Sign up for a yearly subscription if you want to become an icon. You actually get to pick a topic for the vidcast. If you sign up for a yearly subscription, you get to suggest an article for me to write, like Lou, and he actually asked me to write a review of Superman, which I intend to do. You can sign up there, or you can just sign up for free and read my articles, whatever works best for you. But I look forward to seeing you there. If you like that video, be sure to give it a like, share it out to all your friends, leave me a comment and tell me what you think, and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, ring that little bell so you get notifications when I post a new vidcast. And if you'd like to support the channel, become a channel member, or like I said, subscribe to my website, studiojakemedia.substack.com. You can also check out my novels. I've got the supernatural thriller Cacophony. I've got the fairy tale themed sword and sorcery series, The Seven Royals. Book 1 is All Good Things. Book 2 is Breaking the Stars. And book 3 is on its way. I'll have an announcement about that very soon. It will conclude this trilogy. You can also check out my latest novella, Blessed Child. It is a fantasy romance. I think that you will like it. Get one or all four at Amazon.com. Leave me a 5-star review. It really helps out small indie creators like myself. If you want more information about my books, head on over to studiojakemedia.locals.com, where you can find my short stories, poems, and so much more. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.